Okay, so I started off by ripping this piece of 1/2-inch plywood to 2 inches wide. And then I just measured it to another 2 inches, so I would make 2-inch blocks. And then on the miter saw, I just put a stop block to 2 inches so I can make 2-inch blocks. And I made about 6 of them. And then at the workbench, I took this piece of 1/8-inch hedge apple wood, and I just made 2 small circles and then 1 bigger circle. And I'll show you what they're for later in the video. And then this is my diagram of what each plywood will be. And the first plywood block is going to have a doorway, and then it's going to have a magnet, and then the second one's going to have a gear and a button, and the third one's just going to have a groove, and the fourth one's going to have a gear and a button, and the fifth one's going to have a spinner and a gateway. And as you can see on the first one, there's going to be a magnet right in the middle, and then that's that gateway on the bottom. So what I did for the magnet was I just took this neodymium N52 magnet, which is a half an inch around, and I just took this block and marked the center of it, and then marked the center, and then took a 1/2-inch Forstner bit and just drilled a quarter of an inch into the block. And then after that, I just took some CA glue and put a drop in the hole so the magnet could sit securely into the wood. And now you can see that the magnet sits flush with the wood. Now I have to make the gateway, and what I did was I just drilled a 3/16 inch hole about a 1/4 inch into these blocks, and then I put just 3/16 inch dowel in the hole, and then these little pieces of wood went on the dowel and they just spun around. And right now I'm just drilling the 3/16 inch hole, and you can see there's 2 of them. And now on the second block and the fourth block, I have to make the buttons, and there's gears too, but up first I'm making the buttons right now. And what I did, I just drilled 2 holes just like I did on the first and fifth block, and I took the same exact dowel and I just put a pen spring on the end of the dowel so it would make it the button go back and forth. And I just marked the middle of the block so I could drill the hole right in the center. And then I just drilled about 1/2 an inch into the blocks so that the spring and the dowel could sit in perfectly. And then I just cut the pen spring in half and put some of the spring on the end of the dowel, as you can see. You can see when I put the spring in it, it rebounds a little bit. So then I just sanded a little bit of the end of the dowel so it got skinnier so the spring could hold on to the end of the dowel, and then just to secure it I put a little bit of CA glue. And then I just marked where I needed to cut it, and I just cut it with a little handsaw. And to secure the button into the piece of plywood, I just put a little bit of CA glue on the end of on the other end of the spring to hold it in. And I did the same exact procedure for the other one. So now I have 2 buttons. So next, if you can see on the paper how there's a notch in every single block, there's a notch there on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. I have to make that notch, and you'll see what the notch is gonna be in a minute. But I just took a 3/8 inch router bit and just lined up the blocks, and I was just gonna route dado into the blocks. No control over where we go. And then I just clamped them together and made them really straight so that the dado would be exactly in the center of each one. Then I went over to my router table and I just routed out a 3/8 inch dado. And the dado wasn't exactly straight, as you can see the block kind of turned, so I had to take some chisels and I just made 2 straight lines next to the dado, and I just chiseled the dado out to about 1/2 inch, but it was a really straight dado. It was okay that it was bigger because I was going to put 1 rubber band, but instead I put 2, so it worked out pretty good. And you'll see what I'm talking about rubber banding at the end of the video. And as you can see, it's a perfectly straight dado. And now I'm just looking at my paper and seeing what step I needed to do next. And the next step was to make the gateways. And what I did, I just took that same piece of hedge apple wood and then I just measured these kind of finger-shaped things. As you can see, I'm doing the gateways, and I just made these kind of finger-shaped things that were 1 1/4 inches long. And I had to make 2 of them, so I just used the piece of hedge apple wood. And I did a rough sketch of them, and you'll see what shape they are. I don't really know what shape they are. They're kind of just like a tube-shaped thing. And what I did, I just went over to the bandsaw and just cut them out. And also, while I was at the bandsaw, I just cut out the circles that I traced earlier. And as you can see, I just rough cut out the little finger-shaped things. So what I did, I just took a piece of double-sided tape and stuck them together. So when I sanded them, they would both be the same exact shape. And you can see the circles aren't exactly circles, so I had to just sand them so they would be round. Now you can see that the circles are perfectly round. And that's the shape that I came up with at the sander. And now I just took the 2 pieces apart and did some final sanding on them. And then after that, I just marked the center of the ends on these 2 pieces. And where I marked it, I just took a 3/16 inch bit and just drilled a hole straight through. Now you can see there's 2 holes. Then on those holes I made earlier, I just put the dowel in and with a dab of CA glue to hold it in and just cut it off. And these needed to be permanent and so they wouldn't move. And I kind of had to sand the dowel a little bit so that the gateways would move freely on them. And now you can see what I'm talking about, gateways. Kind of like a gate, and they have to be in the right spot for both of them to pass through. So then once I had the gateways completed, I had to move to the next step, which was putting the disc on the number 5 block, as you can see. And all I did was I just drilled a hole straight through the disc and then put a little finishing nail through the disc and into the piece of plywood. And I drilled a pilot hole through the piece of plywood so the nail wouldn't crack the wood. And as you can see, the disc spins pretty freely. And then so that you could hold the disc and spin it, I put a little piece of dowel, a dowel nub, so you could hold onto the dowel and just crank the disc. And I used the same 3/16 inch dowel. And I put a dab of CA glue and just put the dowel in.
I can't believe the night lay waste to all we give.
As you can see, it's a little spinner. And once that was completed, the next step was to put these gears on block 2 and 4. And that's what those 2 little circles were for that I cut out earlier. So what I did, instead of just cutting on the bandsaw the half circle, I just used a Forstner bit that was that was a close size to those circles to just cut out a half circle in the blocks 2 and 4. I was doing it with a hand drill, but it was kind of wandering, so I had to use the drill press. And as you can see, it's kind of a half crescent. And I had to do a little bit of filing because the circles weren't exactly fitting the rounds. So I just did some final touch-ups. And what I'm doing right now is on those little discs, I wanted to have some grip on them. So I just made some notches in each disc. You can't really see right here, but on the next disc, you can see what I'm doing. See how I'm just putting some notches. And once they had the notches, I had to drill holes into the discs. And I used these little nails. I cut off the heads of them, and then just used them as my axle, so that the discs could spin on the nail. And right here, I'm just dry fitting the whole entire thing, just to make sure everything works. These rounds took a lot of fidgeting to do to make them perfect. So it took a long time. So if you do make one, it will take a long time to make these perfect. And then after that, I just used CA glue to temporarily hold the block together. But first I had to sand off the laminate that was on the block so that the CA glue would hold. And I'm just dry fitting the whole thing again right now, just to make sure everything works. And then I just took it off and had to do some final adjustments, and then CA glued it together. The whole reason this took so long was those discs weren't spinning exactly how I wanted them to. So they take a lot of fidgeting to make them perfect. So then I'm just putting some CA glue and some activator just to hold the block together, because later I'll put nails through the whole block to hold it together permanently. And then I just put some clamps on it to hold it together while the glue dried. Then after that, I just took a 3/32 inch drill bit and just put some pilot holes for these nails. And these nails were too long to put 2 on each side because they would have hit, so I had to put 2 diagonal, then on the other side put 2 diagonal the other way. So I drilled the hole, then just put the nail in. I had to go and get a bigger drill bit because the one I was using wasn't big enough. Then after that, if you've been wondering what this slot has been for, it's actually gonna have 2 rubber bands in it. So whenever you have like stress or something, you can just pull them up and let them go. And once that was done, I just did some final sanding on the block before I put the rubber bands and did a coat of lacquer. And I just put a coat of lacquer before I put the rubber bands on because I didn't want to get the rubber bands lacquer on them. I didn't want to get lacquer on my rubber bands. And I put about 3 coats. Then after that, you can see that I'm measuring the rubber bands and putting pilot holes so that the rubber bands would have nails through the rubber bands to hold them on. I also put a dab CA glue to hold the rubber bands on extra good. And I just use little black finishing nails. And now I'm just heating up the pipe for my brand. Hi everybody, I just want to start off by saying thank you for watching this video. I really hope you liked it. And I'm just going to start off by showing ways to use this cube. Okay, there is 6 sides on this cube. And side number 1 is these buttons. So this is the first side, and it just has 2 little buttons that you can just press and fidget with while you're sitting somewhere. You can press 1 at a time, you can press 2 at a time. You can put the cube down, press it down, and it bounces. Or you can just do whatever you want. Okay, side number 2. Side number 2 has these 2 little round discs, and these 2 little round discs are on an axle, and what you can do is just spin them around. You can just fill them. They have little grooves in them, so they feel pretty nice. And then you can even make the cube roll, and you can do it on your arm, on your hand, on the table. You can just roll them, spin them, because they spin pretty good, if you can see that. You can see, spins pretty fast for a long time. So, that's side number 2. Okay, so now going to side number 3, you can see it has these 2 little gateways. And these are probably my favorite on the whole cube. They're very fun, they spin around, you can, they have to go 1 at a time to fit through, so that's why they're so fun. You can just spin around, and if you want to, you can take them off, put them back on, and they actually spin pretty good. They're pretty freely spinning. And they're very fun, and I think they're my favorite. Now going to side number 4, I'm pretty sure. There's this little kind of spinner. It's just a round disc with a nail in the middle, and with a little offset little peg. And what you can do, you can just turn it like this, spin it fast, spin it slow, spin it without holding it. And pretty much do whatever you want with it. You could blow it. You can do whatever you want with it. So this one's pretty fun too. Side number 5, it is a groove with 2 rubber bands in it, and you can just pull back the rubber bands, and it has 2 finger slots, so you can actually grab the rubber bands, pull both at the same time, pull one at a time, just fiddle with the rubber bands, and they're really fun. So. Okay, so now going on to side number 6, it has a hidden magnet in it, so whenever you're done with the cube, you can just attach it to any metal surface like a refrigerator or a microwave or anything like that. And it can even, it's the magnet strong enough to hold paper clips or even keys, car keys. So that's a really cool thing that it can do. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.